Okay. So as you can see, this is going to be about Antonio Brown. It's been a while since I've done a Antonio Brown topic, but I'm really interested and really excited to get into this one. So Antonio Brown, over the past few months, has been issuing a lot of apologies. He has been trying to reconcile with so many different organizations, I guess. So here's the thing, okay? Antonio Brown is trying his damnedest to get back into the league. He is trying hard. He's doing whatever he can. He's trying to pull whatever tactic he can find to try to get back into the league. He tried apologizing to Tom Brady. He tried apologizing to Robert Kraft. I'm pretty sure he apologized somewhere in between to Bill Belichick. And now he's going back to the Steelers. He's trying to apologize to the Steelers. Now, I've said this before. I think the Steeler organization is the reason why we have personalities like this. Some is not as in your face as Antonio Brown, but he is just the example. He's the poster child for what I believe is wrong with that franchise. So I'm gonna read a little bit here, and then I'm gonna give my thoughts, and then I'm gonna go to a video that I started to watch. Antonio Brown pens apology to Ben Roethlisberger. I never realized how good I had it. Okay. On February 12, 2019, Antonio Brown publicly announced that he wanted a divorce from the Pittsburgh Steelers. That makes sense. On February 12, 2020, following a tumultuous 52 weeks that included intense criticism of his former team, Brown issued a public apology to Ben Roethlisberger, his quarterback, during his 9-year run in Pittsburgh. Okay. Brown, whose off-field issues resulted in him playing in just one game last season, has issued several public apologies over the past 2 weeks. Last Wednesday, Brown apologized to Ben Roethlisberger as well as the entire Pittsburgh Steelers organization during an appearance on 93.7 The Fan. These guys gave me an opportunity when I was 21 years old, and I'm forever grateful for those guys. Got the opportunity to not only play for those guys, but to be in so many amazing moments. We've been through so much. See, so what Antonio Brown is doing right here is he's trying to drum up nostalgia. Okay? He's trying to He's trying to appear to be incredibly sympathetic. He's trying to turn himself into a sympathetic figure. Like, oh, boo-hoo, Antonio Brown, he's had a rough year. Maybe he just wants to go home. He's trying to tug at the heartstrings of the Pittsburgh Steelers organization because he's desperate to get back on the field. If Antonio Brown would have found a landing spot at some point last season, this wouldn't even be a fucking conversation, to be honest. But he's desperate, and desperate people will do anything for something that they really want, and he's really desperate right now. I'm forever grateful and indebted to the Steelers organization, Mr. Rooney, Mike Tomlin, Kevin Colbert, Ben Roethlisberger. I started my career with those guys. A lot of beautiful moments, a lot of positive things. It's not all bad. I just think from an emotional standpoint, when stuff got bad, it just seemed bad. We had a lot more good moments than bad. Oh my God. Listen, when I did the video about Antonio Brown and what I thought about the situation between him and Pittsburgh, I stand by those comments. I really do believe that Pittsburgh is toxic. That locker room is toxic. Okay? Antonio Brown he destroyed his message. He destroyed whatever it is he was standing on when he was going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers, which got him traded. I mean, he destroyed everything by acting like a complete buffoon. I mean, this dude was unbelievably unstable. And he kind of destroyed any credibility he had. And I still defended him to an extent. But I stopped talking about him because I just felt like he was destroying himself. So I was like, it's no point in me even saying anything about it. because I mean he's pretty much destroying himself, and there's nothing I can really do to kind of salvage the situation. But Pittsburgh is a problem, man. Pittsburgh is a problem. They still are. I still believe so. But this is sad, man. This is sad, and not sad in a sympathetic way. This is sad, like pitiful, like that you have to stoop this low to go back. Hold on. We had a real heart to heart. Tried to hash it out. But I just think too much stuff built up that it was too late. Do I hate Ben? No. Do I love Ben? Yes. It's just funny the way that's written. Ben's a great guy, great person, great quarterback. Okay. Like he is really desperate, and it's a shame, man. That guy that talented with so much ability can be so fucking on his knees begging that he's completely shitting away everything he said, everything he's done. Like he's just completely shitting it all away because he just wants to get back out there. Jesus. All the frustration we had could have been hashed out. Okay. Well, like I said, because I'm not going to read any more of this, you can go check it out. Like I said, Antonio Brown is extremely desperate. He's trying to get back into the league. This is nothing but a fucking ploy. I don't think that he's sincere in anything he's saying. I don't think he believes or cares that he doesn't believe anything he's saying. He's just so desperate. He's going to say anything and do anything he possibly can to get back on the field. And even if that means going back to the team that he was with previously, that pretty much traded him away for damn near nothing, he's going to do whatever he can. But let's get to the video.
Consider bringing back Antonio Brown.
Hell no. We are not running this back.
I gotta say this. Look, if the Steelers bring him back, I wouldn't be surprised. If they decided that they don't want to deal with it anymore, I wouldn't be surprised either. I think that there will be a team that's desperate enough to go out there and get Antonio Brown. But if the desperation doesn't reach that point, I think Antonio Brown pretty much ended his NFL career. But we'll see. I mean, there may be a team that really needs a wide receiver and that's willing to put up with whatever antics that this dude has in store. But do I think he'll be back in Pittsburgh? I'm not sure. I don't know if the experiment with Juju Smith-Schuster worked out the way they thought it was going to work out. I don't know if they have any receivers that could possibly make up half the production that Antonio Brown brought them. So, I mean, maybe they'll be desperate enough that they'll need a receiver out there when Ben comes back. But, if I'm Antonio Brown, man, like, I'm trying to get help. All right? I'm trying to seek whatever fucking therapy I need to seek to figure out why it is I'm self-destructing so much. Find Jesus. Do something. Like, he needs to do something. And I think that him going back to Pittsburgh is kind of re-aggravating old injuries. I mean, something in that locker room. I'm sorry. I believe so. I believe so much that Pittsburgh, there's something wrong in that organization, man. I believe it. I believe it. I believe there's something there. Okay? I believe there's something there, and I think him going back there is kind of like making it worse. He's going to exacerbate the problem. So I don't think he should want to go there, but he's desperate right now.
Sorry for the nostalgia, sorry for the redemption value here, but no. I really equate this, saw this a lot in high school. You got you an A student who also is a class clown, so you can't look at him anyway, really, like he handles his business, but damn, it's a lot to work with. And that guy creates an anxiety that you don't really take notice of fully until they're gone. Then you realize, wait a minute, it's a lot less work to work with everyone else. And this closed fist that may be lesser in value and talent, actually get more out of. Why would you now want to insert someone who will certainly change the equation in terms of value, but the anxiety and the issues and getting it out of them? No, sir.
Yeah, I'm gonna consider it.
Oh.
And it seems like he's maturing. They saw, I said it when this happened too. I don't know when it was. I said he doesn't realize how good he has it with Ben Roethlisberger.
And this is coming from a guy, TJ Houshmandzadeh, who played in Cincinnati on some of the best, worst teams I've ever seen. Cincinnati has always been one of those teams that if you put the bottom 10 teams or the bottom 12 teams, like 32 to 20, those teams, if you put them in a playoff, Cincinnati probably will win that playoffs. Because they're good, but they're not good at all. Like, I don't know. They're just the best of the worst teams. And he's been a part of those teams. His wide receiver buddy, or, comrade, whatever you want to say, Chad Ochocinco. I mean, they've had some pretty questionable quarterback play. I mean, you had Carson Palmer, but Carson Palmer had injury issues. You had John Kitna. John Kitna was a reliable backup, but he was never a guy that you could just throw in there and start all 16 games and expect great results at any point. But, so he's never really had a Ben Roethlisberger. He's never really had a Drew Brees. He's never really had quarterbacks like that. And coming from a receiver that's never played with a quarterback as talented or as great as Ben Roethlisberger is on the field, he kind of appreciates something more than someone else appreciates whatever it is. And I'm not saying Ben Roethlisberger is to be appreciated. I'm saying he wishes that he had the opportunity to play with Ben Roethlisberger. He wished he had a quarterback on his team that was an equivalent of a Ben Roethlisberger. Maybe they possibly could have made some deeper playoff runs or made the playoffs more. And all this coming out of TJ's mouth that I'm looking at is, damn, like you're in this perfect situation with this great quarterback and this great organization and you winning and you bitching and moaning and complaining, and I've never had the opportunity to play with a team like that, man, and it's just nothing but resentment, So that's all I see from TJ Houshmandzadeh. But go ahead, bro.
He's starting to see that. But do you consider it? Of course you consider it. You go to Ben first and say, Ben, you cool with it? If Ben says no, okay, I'm not considering it anymore. But if Ben is okay with it, I talk with Ben,
If Ben Roethlisberger okays Antonio Brown to come back to Pittsburgh, Ben Roethlisberger is going to make a bitch out of Antonio Brown. Because the moment Antonio Brown does not want to do what Ben wants to do, or he goes against Ben in any way, shape, or fashion, he will hold this shit over his head. He would make Antonio Brown his bitch. I believe Ben is that kind of guy, man. Like, he looks at Mike Tomlin. I've said this before. He looks at Mike Tomlin like he's his bitch. Because if Ben Roethlisberger goes to the front office and say, look, I don't think it's working out with Tomlin. Could we get somebody else in here? They would fire Mike Tomlin the first chance they got. I believe that. They would choose Ben Roethlisberger over Mike Tomlin. And I think the same thing would happen with an Antonio Brown. And Antonio, when he left there, I'm pretty sure he saw that dynamic and how much power Ben Roethlisberger had in that locker room and in that organization. I mean, look, I'm just going to say it. I've never been in that locker room. But when I watch him, when I listen to him talk, when I watch his face, Ben Roethlisberger strikes me as a fucking dictator. He just does, man. And then when he's getting in front of the fucking cameras and talking to the media, he's throwing his coach under the bus. How little do you think of your coach to fucking blame him for what's happening? Even though he may be right. I mean, come on, bro. Come on. Like, are we seriously going to sit here and believe that Antonio Brown is 100% wrong? It's all his fault. Nobody else did anything. It was all him. And now he's feeling regret. And now he wants to go back because he realized that he fucked up early. No. He's desperate. He wants to be in the league. If a fucking startup franchise, if they gave Seattle, no, not Seattle. What the hell am I talking about? If they gave, like, Oklahoma City a fucking NFL team, and it was there was zero chance to win there, Antonio Brown would go there and try out. Like, if he had the opportunity to play in the league again, that's all he wants to do. Nobody wants to pick him up, so he's trying to do whatever he can to get back. He apologized to the Patriots. Nothing happened. Now he's apologizing to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, this is he's desperate. That's all this is.
Juju, because he disrespected Juju also. And if they're
listen, because he knew that they were prepping Juju to replace him. Okay? They were prepping Juju to replace him, and he felt some type of way about it. Like, this little nigga is not as good as me. Like, everything was cool between Antonio Brown and Juju when Juju first got there. But then when Juju started to play better, and people were like, oh, we might have something here with this guy. We got this aging wide receiver over here who's great right now, but he may not be great a year or 2 years from now. And we got a kid right here who is like damn near 10 years younger than him. I mean, we have something here. And once that happened, that changed the entire relationship between Antonio Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster. Because when Juju first got there, I think his rookie season, his bike was stolen. I believe, out from in front of his apartment. If I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken. But his bike was stolen from somewhere. All right? He went to the news, or he said in a press conference or something, or he was talking to the media, some shit like that, where he said, somebody stole my bike. I think he described the bike, told them if they find the bike or whatever, could they notify him or whatever, but or call the organization and see if they can see about getting it returned. And Antonio Brown came out and said, if you return this bike, I'll give you a reward. Or I'll give you a reward for returning it. Like, so they seemed like they were pretty okay. I mean, I'm not saying they were best friends, but they seemed like they were cordial to one another. I mean, why else would you say anything? But now, I mean, then he just started taking shots at Juju. And the only reason why I could see him change that way, and towards a kid who is as nice as Juju. Juju is a nice dude. He looks like one of those nice guys. One of those real quiet, really reserved, but really nice guys who just enjoys having fun and all this. That kid shit. He's one of those guys. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy that'll rock the boat. Now, if he is a great fucking actor, because he doesn't portray himself like that. And usually you could tell fake people like that are putting on an act, because it's really hard for them to maintain an act for a long period of time. And you just don't see that with him. So it was weird that Antonio Brown would attack him. And the only reason why I could see that he would attack him is if he already knew that they were prepping Juju to take over the number one wide receiver spot. See, I just did a lot of explaining right there because I have a tendency to over-explain. I try to make sure that people understand what I'm talking about, because I don't want to half explain something and that don't make any sense. All right? So I'm going to say it again. Antonio Brown felt some type of way towards Juju, which he shouldn't have, because he felt Juju was being put in position to usurp him. And that's when all this bullshit happened. And that's why when Juju, I think the final game 2 years ago, when Juju fumbled on the goal line or something on the final game, and they lost the game or some shit like that, Antonio Brown was making fun of him. Because in his mind, this is the guy that y'all want to replace me with. This is the guy that's supposed to take over, okay? And I understand that. I'm not saying I agree or condone his behavior towards Juju, but I understand why he felt that way.
Okay with it, then I consider it. Is it a possibility of it happening? I'm going to say no. He wants to play with Tom Brady. So wherever Tom Brady goes, he's going to try to get there.
Antonio Brown is desperate, and this is what I'm saying. He's desperate right now. He is trying to get, if he could get to New England, he wouldn't say shit to Pittsburgh. He wants to be back in New England. He realized that he made a mistake with that whole group chat shit to one of his accusers. He knew he made a mistake. He shouldn't have did it. I'm pretty sure he understands he shouldn't have did it. And he felt like now he can't get a second chance because he made a mistake. And rightfully so, man. They told him, stay away from it, keep your nose clean, keep your head low, just focus on playing. And he decided he wanted to go do that bullshit, and he got kicked off the team, and it's understandable. But he wanted to be in New England. That's why he apologized to New England first. He wanted to be in New England. If he wanted to be in Pittsburgh or back in Pittsburgh, he would have been came out and said this shit to Pittsburgh. He wouldn't have waited until free agency. He would have waited until free agency to say something. So, all right.
That's his first option. But do I consider it if I'm the Steelers? Absolutely.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I'll tell you why. Because of Antonio Brown, this team, this coach, had to go through so much scrutiny, so much criticism.
Rightfully so, man, because this organization is extremely flawed. And they tried to blame all of their problems on one player. And I've said this before, not one player, if you have a strong culture in your locker room, not one player should be able to come in and completely destroy the goddamn the atmosphere of the locker room. I'm sorry. Like if your culture is strong and your tradition is strong, and people will look at Pittsburgh and say, yeah, sure, they have a strong tradition. They've been when you only have 4 head coaches or 5 head coaches your entire franchise's history, there's no way that you don't have a strong culture built in there, a strong tradition built in there. And one player comes along and completely destroys it. I'm sorry, I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe it for a second. When Antonio Brown Facebook Live inside the locker room, it should have been zero tolerance. One, he should have been suspended for the New England Patriots game. Like, he really should have. That should have been zero tolerance. You're Facebook Live in a fucking locker room, and the fact that they allowed him to play showed me that they have very little respect, self-respect for themselves and for their organization. They have very little respect. They're more concerned with winning than they are with upholding the ethics that apparently they have. So I'm sorry, I'm not going to sit here and act like Antonio Brown, he brought all this unwanted attention or undeserved attention to fucking Pittsburgh. Eventually something was going to happen. Like, come on, man. What the fuck?
They had to endure this season. So much to the point of where people
He wasn't even there. How they enduring?
That's what I'm, bro. That's what I'm saying. I'm sorry. That's what I'm saying. Like, how are we blaming Pittsburgh this season on Antonio? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, and this shit is constant. Ben Roethlisberger never has to be held accountable for his actions. Mike Tomlin never has to be held accountable for his fucking actions. They're blaming everything on this wide receiver, and he wasn't even on the team. Like, come on, man.
When he ain't there.
Hold on, let me get there.
Make that add up, cool. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Even to the point of where this man's job was on the line as the head coach, because they did not feel as though he may have control over his locker room.
I'm gonna say this again. He doesn't. Ben Roethlisberger runs that team. He runs that shit, man. It is a hierarchy. You have the front office. You have the owner. You have whatever chairman, whatever board they have on that team, shareholders, whatever. You have those guys, and then you have like the GM. I wouldn't even say the GM has more power than Ben Roethlisberger. I would go owners, the board, shareholders, and then I'll go Ben Roethlisberger, then the GM, then the head coach, and then every other player on the fucking team. And then below the players is all the equipment staff and all this other shit and the assistant coaches. And like, it goes down like that. Ben Roethlisberger is up at the only person he doesn't have more power than are the shareholders and the owner. I'm telling you, I think that dude runs that fucking franchise, man. They allow him to do whatever the fuck he wants to do.
They went through it and have gotten through it, and they're probably on the other side of it because of the way the season ended and how they fought to be playoff contenders. If those guys, him, Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, are the reasons why, and more so AB, are the reason why we had to go through this, I'm not going to revisit that. I'm not even going to entertain revisiting that.
Hey, look,
This team looked so bad last year. I mean, so fucking bad. And one person, I know there's going to be one person to say, oh, that's because Ben Roethlisberger was injured, so they didn't have their starting quarterback. Yeah, well, when Ben played in that first game against New England, they looked horrible. Okay? They looked horrible. This team is not good. And when you give away Antonio Brown and when you let Le'Veon Bell walk, two of the top 5 players at their position, when you let them go, man, like, what do you expect to happen? What do you expect to happen? Like, oh, man, when they, what do you call it? Addition by subtraction? Addition by subtraction. That was supposed to be the motto of the Pittsburgh Steelers, man. Like, when they get the T-shirts made with their team's motto for the year, like every fucking playoff run, every team has it. Fucking Pittsburgh's would be addition by subtraction, because apparently getting rid of 2 of the top players in the league is beneficial for your team. Like, this team was horrible this year, man. This team was horrible.
Come through it.
you go.
Well, the key word is consider.
Hell
Yeah, no, I
We
can't.
know the word. We read that.
I'm with T. Consider?
No
I am the
consideration.
biggest AB fan up here. You remember I was his public
Yeah.
defender all the way through.
Yeah, you stepped down. I remember that.
Hell yeah, I stepped there. The Bills won.
I did the same shit, man, because Antonio Brown was self-destructing on himself. And it just, there was no point in trying to fucking justify anything he was doing, because, to be honest, nothing he was doing was making any sense.
Getting paid. What the hell are you doing? Nah, I respect him. He's going to get a job. He deserves a job. I love this level of contrition. I love all of this. Not with Pittsburgh. Big Ben, one, you can't go to him and ask him, because the whole owner's mentality,
Bitter.
you can't empower that.
Who's gonna know that they asked Ben that besides Ben in the front office?
Pittsburgh.
I mean, you have to have common sense, man. Like, and the reason why I believe Ben has a crazy amount of power in that fucking organization is because he constantly will come out and throw Mike Tomlin, the head coach, under the bus, and nothing happens. You never hear a report, oh, well, Ben Roethlisberger has been fined X amount of dollars by the Pittsburgh organization for his comments against his head coach. You never hear that shit. It's like they allow him to say what he wants. They allow him to do what he wants. Like, this dude didn't... You see how when these fucking players come out and they beat women and they rape women and all this other shit, or they get accused of doing some shit, like how they get suspended, they have to sit out until, you know, whatever comes to... Like, Ben didn't have to do any of that shit. Ben didn't have to, like, there was no punishment for anything. I mean, and his alleged rape case just went away. Like, that shit just disappeared like it never existed, and nobody talks about it anymore. What kind of shady shit is that, man? Like, what kind of shady crap is that? Like, every time you say Ray Rice, the first image that pops in your head is him punching his wife in the elevator. When you think about any of these fucking players that have these kind of issues, you know, you think about their issues. You think about the problems that they've had. But when you talk about Ben Roethlisberger, former rape case never enters your fucking mind.
Second of all, Juju
whole city.
Juju ain't got enough stripes to be asking, is it okay for AB or not, because AB's still better than Juju.
Juju, if Juju got the balls, man, Juju is going to beg them. Like, he's going to be, listen, man, we got to bring Antonio Brown back. I mean, he's so his talent is so great. We need him on his offense. Juju needs a number one receiver to take some of the pressure off of him. He needs another player across from him that can draw a double team, that can have the defense shift their perspective or shift their focus towards his side, towards the other player's side of the field. So that way he can work more in a one-on-one setting where he's probably more comfortable, or, you know, probably take one of the worst DBs of the other team's cornerbacks, and, you know, so that way it's easier for him to work. With him drawing the best corner, you know, double coverage probably, you know, having all the attention on him in the passing game, like, I think he's having a rough time, man. I think he's having a rough time, and I think he and this team bit off more than they could chew with him.
So here's my thing. I'm looking at it like Tomlin has to make an assessment how much work it was just to work with AB. And then you think that now he's like, I want to do it again. Did they win a Super Bowl with AB? No. So what is it worth? Like, what is
He didn't even play last year, and he's still number.
Well, one can make the argument that they haven't won a Super Bowl since the residual effect of the Bill Cowher, the residual effect of the Bill Cowher system has went away. Like, they haven't won a title since then. I mean, because when Mike Tomlin got the job, Bill Cowher retired. When Mike Tomlin got the job, most of the players that were in place was there from the Bill Cowher administration. And when they won that first title with Mike Tomlin, it was because he had most of the talent on that team from when Bill Cowher was there. And then when they got to the Super Bowl again against Green Bay, which they didn't win, it was still shades, and it was a relatively soft AFC. It was a really soft AFC. I mean, you had Peyton Manning, you had Tom Brady, but that was about it, man. I mean, San Diego wasn't really doing shit, man. Like, the Jets weren't really doing shit. Nobody was really a fucking threat. And this was the stretch where New England really couldn't win anything. Like, they would make it to the playoffs, but they really wasn't doing anything. They weren't making any noise. So Pittsburgh was pretty much the shit in the AFC. And then once every possible speck of Bill Cowher was washed away from the team, they haven't been to the Super Bowl since. They haven't been back. So you can't really blame AB or say, well, you know, AB wasn't contributing or whatever. I mean, nobody on this team was contributing.
One in every category.
I'm gonna just tell you
I
why
respect
y'all
that.
wrong. Why y'all wrong? Just consider, man. Look, man, Big Ben's got 2 years left, probably
Maybe.
tops. They are in a win Super Bowl now mode. And
Right.
so somebody who they had a lot of success with is showing signs of like,
Maturing.
I'm gonna behave better. And so
Nope.
I'm just
Nope.
I can't
I want to go
Who
with
sings If You Think You're Lonely Now, Wait Until the Night. I'm just-
Casey and JoJo.
No, that ain't
Just
Casey and JoJo. They did the remake.
They did the remake.
But anyway,
Bobby Womack.
Bobby Womack.
Yeah,
There we
yeah.
go. And so, look, that's what's going on right now.
With AB though.
No, I agree. But so Pittsburgh as well. They did not make the playoffs.
Mike Tomlin,
They
Bobby
need-
Womack.
They need to, again, and he put her out there, and look how she's behaving. She wants to come back. She's learned her lesson, is what Bobby Womack is saying.
But in that song,
Potentially.
Bobby Womack did not take the shorty back. I'm telling you, if you think you're lonely now, because you've treated me.
All right, well, that's about it on that one. But I gave my thoughts. Usually it takes me about 20 or 30 minutes to get it all out of myself. But, you know, all right.